Welcome to Crimes or Misunderstandings, where some people call them crimes and some just misunderstandings. We're sitting here today with one of my prison mates, Hamish. He's done a few stints in prison, and he's now on the straight and narrow. But we're gonna kick right into how. Well, I'll let Hamish start this time. Hamish, go ahead and take it away.
So mine probably wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a crime. A lot of my stuff throughout my life has come from desperation, from drug and alcohol use. And I think the event you're referring to was what led me to meet you. And my recollections of the event are rather hazy. I basically went into a vape store in Northbridge and jumped the counter, assaulted the owner, and made off with about $30 worth of vape juice, and landed myself a 3-year sentence.
Yeah, so I'll take it from here. Just let me elaborate. So there's a guy, and he's become famous for all the wrong reasons. He's on every single TV channel. He's on the newspapers. He's on Facebook News, and everybody's looking for him. This guy, some random guy, goes into a vape shop and decides it's a great idea to jump the counter, beat up the clerk, and steal nothing but vape juice. And you know what made it even funnier? Like, I'm sorry, it is funny when crimes like this happen, but what's even funnier is all the vape juice he stole, none of it had nicotine in it. For me, it is entertaining. I feel sorry for the clerk he beat up. I hope he's all right. But other than that, yeah, so he's jumped it. And when he gets drunk, he's got diabetes. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but what happens to you when you drink? And go ahead, like, give him the scenario. You've now had one beer. What's happening now? What's happening in your brain?
It's when I've had one beer, I want another 10. But the problem with the diabetes, I don't know where it's going to lead. You know, sometimes I can have a few drinks and I'll be fine. Other times it can lead to a blackout. In this case, it did. When the police came and told me the event they were about, you know, I was like, sweet, I've just been on my couch all day, and then I looked behind me and there was a table full of vape juice.
$30 worth of vape juice. So they show up, knock on his door, knock, and you know, I can't even like comprehend how this could go through his head. So first of all, you hear, don't you look through the door, like try to find out what it is before you open it? So he sees two police. He knows how he gets. He opens the door wide open. Yeah, Hamish, you're suspected in a robbery. Where were you yesterday? He goes, what robbery? I've been here all day. They said, really? Because you've been seen. We have eyewitnesses watching you go into a vape store, beating up the clerk, and stealing vape juices. He goes, what are you talking about? I've never even been into a vape store. And behind him, in clear sight, all the vape juices that he stole.
Pretty much. They had CCTV with accompanying audio as well. So they had everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jean-Claude Van Damme, watch out. You're nothing in your prime compared to Hamish at the vape shop. So, yeah. Well, anyway, I got to spend some time with Hamish in prison. It was fun. Like a lot of people think that prison is terrible. For me, I think maybe I had a little bit easier time than others because I have a boxing background and I was known, and then like did help. It hurt. I mean, it didn't hurt that Hamish was probably one of the best guys on the pads that I had, and so like we practiced a lot in the cell and like in small rooms, and then all of a sudden I said, all right, Hamish, because I'm American and we're known to be loud, obnoxious, show off, tell people we're better than we are, which is ridiculous. But anyway, I said, come on, let's go put on a show. And we'd go out into the yard. And yeah, he beat the hell out of my hand. So we didn't have pads. We actually had flip-flops. And these flip-flops were like half-inch thick. And when I'm showing off, I get a little excited. And let's just say some of those pegging me in my forearm, at my wrist, on my thumb. Oh man, listen, no expense spared in maximum security prison while you're holding thongs on a basketball court with no nets next to tennis courts with bent tennis rackets and balls that have been played with since 1974. But yeah, Hamish was a super athlete, and he was a very good boxer. He's super tall, so he was deadly in the basketball court.
I'm about 5.5 foot. I did not go on the basketball court.
On a good day.
Yeah, on my tippy toes.
Yeah. So, but he is the guy he's built like a brick shit house, and probably one of the hardest working when he trains, one of the hardest workers in the prison. Yeah, tell them about some of your workout regimes and like how do you spend your time in prison? I know how I spent my time in prison, but how did you spend your time in prison?
In maximum, there was a lot of stolen water barrels for curls and mop handles for presses. There's a lot of handstand push-ups and muscle ups because you've only got body weight to train with, but I mean, it gets boring in there, I would train 2 or 3 times most days.
Yeah. So do you break these up? Like, do you do a cardio workout? You do a weight workout?
I like to start my morning with cardio and then do a bit of weights. And then if there's someone willing to hold a set of double pluggers for me, I'll have a punch in the arvo.
Only idiots put their hand up for this thing because, I told him I don't do it for free. He goes, no worries. He goes, I'll give you a pack of 2-minute noodles. I was like, deal? Yeah. If you haven't been to prison, you don't know what prison's food's like. You want that, in America we call it commissary. Here we call it spins. Listen, the food you can get out of spins, you want to eat. You want people putting in money into your account so that you could buy food because the food in the state prisons are that bad. We actually have there's no eggs. Like in maximum security, there's no eggs. I had to take a home economics class just so I could pretend I didn't know how to make an omelet so I could get an egg. We have a friend, we won't name names, but he was working in the kitchen, and one guy had decided to steal the egg he wanted to steal. How'd that work out for him, Hamish? Do you know this story I'm talking about?
I'm assuming you're referring to one of our friends. Yeah. He ended up on the sharp end of a butcher's knife. What do they call them? A boning knife. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny because I wasn't making millions and millions, but I was making good money where I had people call me, tell me that to give me a couple $100,000, and I was too tired to get out of bed. I was like, I get it next week, and then all of a sudden you're going into prison when you're like, that guy borrowed a sugar-free Coke from me 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't paid me. I'm gonna go whoop his ass. This gets real. It
escalates quick.
Yeah, so, our mate, he worked in the kitchen, and one guy wanted to steal the egg he wanted to steal, and so he just decided, prison laws, prison rules, you get stabbed for that. He stabbed that guy over an egg.
Yeah, no. I imagine there was a bit more to the story, but I'm going to throw out there, he's a really good guy, he's doing really well now, he's still a very close friend of mine.
Yeah. He's a whole new segment on his own, man. I should say it, but I'm gonna say he's a lifer. He's been in prison, in and out of prison for a long time. His main crime, and these are crimes. They're not misunderstandings. I'm telling you right now. His main crime is bank robbery. So I go, hey, I'm sitting there holding pads for him one day, and I was like, so what are you in for? You have to be you have to be friendly with people to ask them what they're in for, And he goes, I usually I was robbing banks. I go, yeah, how many did you rob? He goes, quite a few. He goes, I was on my third one that day. I go, well, your third one? I go, what happened? I go, you didn't get any money the first day? He goes, no, I got heaps of money. I go, what'd you do the third one for? He goes, to tell you the truth, I just like robbing banks. So yeah, that's our mate. He's we'll see if he'll come in for. I don't know if he would actually come in for a segment, but we would love to have him in if he'd come in. So
I'll have a word to him.
yeah. So anyway, hey, what happened after we trained and you knew me in
We met in Hagia.
oh yeah, that's right, Hakia. Maximum security, super max, and you go through your digressions. You start off in a maximum or super. They have high security escorts, and you work your way down into like just a maximum, which would be Casuarina. I never went there. I was slotted to go there. They turned off my phone, took all my belongings, and then told me to go back to Hakia. And then did a few more months there, and then I went to Acacia where I reunited with Hamish, and yeah, well, I don't even remember how did I meet you again in Acacia?
I think I'd come back. You were in uniform block, so the induction and / young offenders. Don't get me. There's 2 sections. He wasn't in the young offenders unit. I think I was picking up some stuff because I'd moved over to Mike block, and I bumped into you there, and I said, like, look, they're gonna move you out of this unit. You should try and get across to Mike block.
So I remember this is kind of how it worked. So I decided to become an artist in Hakia. I worked in the library. So through my digressions in prison, I had just about every single prison job you can imagine, from kitchen to library to artist to garbage man. You name it, I had it. I got fired from them all. They were I promise they were all misunderstandings. We'll go through them as we go through. So yeah, my first job, they had me going into like weld trailers. And then I saw they had metal sculptures. So I tell the guy, I go, hey, I'm an artist. And he goes, how long you been an artist for? I said, me, I don't like to lie. And I had picked it up in Hakia, probably 10 months before. So I don't like to lie. So I just told him it was about 15 years. And he goes, you've been an artist for 15 years? He goes, you ever done sculptures? I said, yeah, but out of clay and never like this. So let me give you a word of advice. If you go to prison and it's hard, lie. Do whatever you have to get that job so you could get to self-care. Lie and get you places. Many times they're like, you're not supposed to be in this section. Oh, I got called down for an interview. And interviews are 4 months later. They're like, you got called down? They're like, what's your name? I said, what names do you have there? And I go, nah, my name should be right there. And I got the interview. I had a job within 4 days doing metal sculptures and something that I didn't even know how to weld.
I remember those.
So... yeah, anyway, I got to welding, and because I got a job at welding, I got to move into Mike Block with Hamish, and that's where he introduced me to Lucky. Hey, but I can't do it's too much to go through the Lucky story again. Like, we'll just do the Lucky story, and you can edit that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have to go all the way through Lucky again.
Well, we can go quickly through it.
Quickly through it? Let him go because I'm getting a little bit burnt out on it. So I've got so much funny in me, and then it's like not that funny.
No. So we ended up in Mike block. I was 2 out with a fella you call Lucky. As I introduced you to Lucky, when I first met Lucky in Hagia, I actually thought he was a homeless man.
Tell what he was in there for. Go ahead.
Well, this is the thing. I didn't think that he was on money laundering charges. I can speak about this because he's done his time, doing his time for it. It was transporting someone had come across from Sydney. They had. Another funny story. I think it was
they were going to Sydney. They were going to
Sydney.
Sydney.
They were going to Sydney. And they were flying back with $2 million in cash. And I think, rather than forking out a couple of $100 for a suitcase, they threw it in a couple of Audi bags, which tore open when the baggage handler was throwing it off at the other end. And so he got done for that.
This is the first reason why everybody pretty much gets a nickname. I started calling Lucky. When I heard this story, I was so fortunate for Hamish to introduce me to Lucky, who is such a bizarre human. At first, I thought he was just like he's an acquired taste, but actually, he's not bad. He's so likable; it's unbelievable. He's got this voice. It's kind of like high pitch. He's like, "Hey, how you doing, man? Very good to meet you." And I'm like, "Oh, pretty good." He goes, "Oh, you like to work out, yeah?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I work out all the time. You know, I do about 1,800 sets." And like, I'm like, "Really?" His arms are this big around, like on a good day. His gut giant. He makes up for standing on 2 toothpicks. And I was like, "So what'd you do to get in here?" "Nah, well, there was a couple of things that happened." He goes, "We were shipping money from Perth to Sydney. It was a slight story in the newspaper." And turns out it was like a 3-day. I mean, it was like a 3-week like progression of everything that he's done and all the crimes. He was like, and look, what he did, I don't consider it a crime. I mean, he shipped a bag full of money from point A to point B. He didn't even do it. He had 3 fingerprints. There was 47 fingerprints on the bag that they found. He's had 3. They gave the guys a bunch of money to buy like sturdy bags for the cash. Well, the couriers, they might have taken a book out of a page out of Diago's book.
Bro, I went to go to Melbourne the other week and bought a suitcase. So these things aren't cheap. I can't really blame this dude.
Yeah, but these guys buy a bag from China. So there's 2 bags. $2 million fits in 2 bags apparently. First bag gets thrown on, no problem on the carousel. The second bag gets thrown on, bag rips open, another plastic bag full of $1 million falls out. 1 baggage handler there. That is probably the dumbest human I have ever heard of in my life. I'm telling you right now, if $1 million fell out in front of me, I know that is not legal money. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to put that up my shirt. I'm going to fake fall. I'm going to pretend I've hurt my leg, lay down on my big gut and pretend I'm taking the weight off my leg and limp to my car and call in sick for the next 40 years. That's what I would have done. Instead, this guy reported it, and the couriers got caught, and they've checked out of the 47 fingerprints, the 3 that got caught were, well, why I call him lucky. They were luckies, but Lucky's not so lucky. He's currently so lucky. He's still back. He's gone back into prison they definitely don't like him. But yeah, he's quite the character. Yeah, Hamish has introduced me into him, and long story short, Hamish was cellmates, moved to self-care, and I then was cellmates with Lucky, and Lucky, when he was with me, had like, I guess you would call like trolley whip arms. You know how the whips they use on those, what do you call it? Was it the trots?
Oh, yeah, the trots, yeah.
That whip is about how big his arm was around. The
crop.
Yeah, so and anyway, he started training, but when he went over to self-care with Hamish, he started turning into a bit of an animal, and he got in shape. And yeah, what were your trainings like?
Far out. By this stage, we had cable weights. So we were doing probably 5-7 Ks each morning. We'd just do like a usual 3 days split, like back, buys, chest, but we'd do it properly. And then again, yeah, that was where boxing really sort of took off in self-care, because we had gloves, we had pads, we had
sparring session, like
yeah. I think that's how because we ended up doing woodwork together on TNT.
Yeah. So Hamish gets me a job in the I go for metal sculptures. Actually, I thought my metal sculptures were pretty good. Unfortunately, they took 10 times longer than everybody else. I lit myself on fire a couple times. I didn't know how to weld, which they asked me how long I'd been welding for, and I said, like 4 or 5 years. They go, "You do TIG welding?" I was like, "Yep, sure do." Poly welding? Oh, lots. Didn't know what any of it was. So yeah, I just lied my way to a job, and then, it takes quite a few infractions to get fired from prison. If you get fired from a prison job, you've really done something wrong. I got fired from a prison job.
But you were that guy. Like, I think because you're American, you were either loved or hated everywhere you went. And I've never seen anyone go through maximum, medium, into minimum, and end up getting stabbed in minimum security. But that's the kind of person you are, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Look, I haven't met anybody I don't like in 30 years, and I got stabbed in minimum security prison by a midget. I find that I can't believe the balls of the kid. He did take off running, and he must have played footy for the Eagles because I could not catch him. I was squirting blood out of my face, and I couldn't catch him, and like all of his family. But yeah. I guess some people just don't get my jokes. I was trying to beat up his uncle and a few other people at the same time because I thought I was Jean-Claude Van Damme. And he came from behind me and tried to stick me in my neck. Luckily, I have cat-like reflexes. I dipped my chin, went through my jaw, knocked out a tooth. I didn't need that tooth anyway, so that's why I let it aim for that tooth. And anyway, I recovered. About 7 months later, I could finally chew gum. It was a hell of a time in there, but
You were just trying to fit in. I mean, there was a lot of people missing teeth in there.
Yeah. Well, we were in there with Bing Cousins. I remember Bing Cousins, and there's this guy named Johnny. He was like one of the rec workers, and they've come up with the idea to so there's 10 different units in Heike, and every unit gets to play footy against each other. And I'm talking these footy fields, man. I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Whole Nine Yards with Adam Sandler, where like they jump up and like instead of tackling, he's like jumping up with his cleats and like pumping people in the chest and like clotheslining people and hitting them in the head with. This was prison footy, and Bing Cousins was in there, and we have another friend named Vinny. And I'm telling you, Johnny Jacobs. We were in Unit 5, and there's a few junkie units where they're like mentally deranged. There's like 3 and 4. Those I also got to visit those because I wasn't as funny as I thought I was. The funny part was I got to live in the hood. But I got to live in those places. Not fun. But so Bing Cousins, for those of you who don't know, is like, well, anybody in America that's watching, he's like the Heisman Trophy winner, but probably one of the best AFL, Australian rules footy players ever to live. I was in there with him. He had a slight misunderstanding. What he did, I don't consider a crime. I call it a misunderstanding. He gave me details. I'm sure that he told me nothing but the truth because most prisoners only tell the truth. But he was playing against Unit 5 was self-care. Unit 4 was the mentally challenged, I'd say. The criminally insane, really. That's what they were, the criminally insane. And Johnny Jacobs works. I go, who's going to win this game? Johnny Jacobs looks over at me and he goes, if you add up all the teeth in Unit 4, you'll get one full mouthful of teeth. Big Cousins team, Vinny's team. Literally, I'm telling you, Vinny, I trained Vinny on the outside. He ended up going on to win a state title. And I've never seen anybody love prison as much as this guy. I'm talking clotheslines, stepping on people's ankles while they're getting up with cleats, kicking them in the head. But Ben Cousins and Vinny's team beat them. It was something like 126-3. It was unbelievable. But that was the story about missing teeth. We've got sidetracked, but I can't just let a funny story go. Prison was terrible, by the way. I had a lot of times where I laugh and I joke, and that's fun, but it was also horrible. I mean, I had some horrible times in there, but luckily I had guys like Hamish. They made life a little bit easier. Unfortunately, I didn't always do the same for him.
No, you were quite the opposite most of the time, actually. Far out.
Go ahead, Hamish. Tell him what a dick I was in prison.
Look, the two stories that jump to mind. The first one, well, I might as well. You've spoken about the Islander boys in the past. I think.
Yeah.
I think I introduced you to a few of them, and you became the coach. I think that was your name on the yard, you know, and what coach said when. And I remember we were in your cell together, and I don't know what.
You didn't show up. You didn't show up on time for something. I remember this.
No, you spilt yogurt.
Yeah, I know, but I said if you would have showed up on time, I would have never spilt the yogurt.
Yeah, so apparently it was my fault, and I needed to clean it up. And I said, well, you know, like, you're a grown-ass man, clean your own fucking yogurt, you know, and so he's promptly gone and told the boys, I introduced him to, that someone's refusing to clean up yogurt they're responsible for spilling in his cell, you know. So next thing, I'm in one of the pods and I'm sort of surrounded by 7 guys, and they've got this whip with the frozen tail, and they're like, you're going to clean it up or you're going to get the whip. And it's like, well, I'm not going to clean up another man's yogurt. Yogurt's not code for it. This was actually yogurt. Like,
to be real specific, it was Greek yogurt, and I'm Italian, all right? So no, half Italian, all right?
Yeah. But like, I'm not going to get whipped, but I'm not going to clean up your fucking yogurt, man. You can fuck off. Like, and so I remember, like, this. I was just thinking, this is a typical example of how things escalated, because 2 or 3 at the front of the group of 7 were quite small, and I thought maybe if I attack one really bad, the rest will just sort of get pleasure out of watching that, and then it'll all go away. And I was kind of glad when you said, "No, looky, I did spill the yogurt, and it all dissipated."
Yeah. So I didn't expect the like. Because everybody, I was constantly playing practical jokes on everybody. Like this was nonstop, and there was few people that were off limits. Actually, I don't think anybody was off limits. I pretty much played practical jokes, so I thought it would be funny to pretend like, obviously I spilt the yogurt. Obviously I should clean it up. I'm very aware of that. I would never let anything happen to Hamish, but I just wanted to test the waters. And I said, if you would have been in my cell on time, I wouldn't have opened the yogurt the way I opened it, and it wouldn't have spilt. So you need to clean it up. He's like, I'm not cleaning your yogurt. I was like, all right. I said, you sure? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, no, you wait right here. And I said, hey boys, Hamish spilt yogurt in my room and he's not picking it up. Can you handle this for me? Small army was ready immediately to go and have Hamish clean that yogurt.
What was ironic is they're people I knew. They were friends of mine that I introduced you to initially. They were ready to.
No, and I didn't realize, like, I thought they were going to laugh, like, because Hamish was like, fuck you, clean up your own yogurt. And I mean, I was totally like, I'm laughing about it, but all of a sudden these guys decided that it was about to be serious, and they got the whip out, and I was like, whoa, like they were going in after him. I said, no, okay, guys, I'm kidding, man. I just was busting his balls. I didn't want it to escalate. I said, he was just one of us. I love him, but yeah, he almost got put on the wall. You know what? I probably should have let him so that we could be laughing about it even more right now.
But it was only a day or two later, I think, that I had an incident where they had mixed up my injecting equipment.
I'm calling this. I know what he's about to say, and I'm calling it false. This is not true.
This is what happened. I came to you and I said, look, just between me and you, just quietly, they've mixed up my insulin gear with someone who's HIV positive, and I'm a little bit stressed out. Keep it to yourself, because you got to remember, this prison, people, it's kind of frowned upon. Like, no one wants to go too out with someone with AIDS, sort of thing. And so I come in the gate, and there's Grady surrounded by people on the other side. Hamish, how's your AIDS coming along?
I call him, I don't know if I'm enjoying the story, but I don't remember. I don't recall this at all.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Hamish has AIDS."
No, fuck off. There's no way I said that. I might have said HIV.
Oh, right. Some of the shit I said.
Nah, this did not happen.
Yeah. Everything escalated with you. I remember talking to my old man on my birthday, and you said, I had your call go. I go, I didn't even remember it was my birthday. And next thing later on, in front of everyone, Hamish was crying earlier because his dad didn't say happy birthday.
He like turned 33. Yeah. My dad didn't tell me happy birthday. Are you fucking for real, cunt? You're in here for beating up a guy. You're in here for beating up a guy over vape juice, and you're about to cry because your dad didn't tell you happy birthday at 33? Come on, man.
I didn't cry. I'm adamant I didn't cry.
Man, I'll tell you, I did take the piss. Well, just about everybody, but literally just to have fun, anything for a laugh. We had a lot of laughs in there. Mostly at Hamish's expense, but even more so at Lucky's expense. We had a good time in there. It is terrible. I had a horrible, like, a lot of personal tragedy, actually. I mean, just the fact that I lost my family. There's, like, as much as we want to tell, like, funny stories in prison because there is a lot of funny stuff that happens there. But everything you see in the movies is real. There's rapes, there's murders, there's suicides. There was one guy. He got drunk on hand sanitizer. You remember this? In uniform on the second level.
Yeah,
He went in there. So he gets drunk on hand sanitizer, which I didn't even know you could do. I didn't even think it was true. And then I drank a bottle. No, I never drank a bottle. But I guess he got drunk on hand sanitizer, and he went up to. There was 2 tiers in uniform. He walks into the cell next to him, punches the guy, like some innocent guy in the face, and takes his TV and throws it off the second story window onto the floor. The guards come in to get him. He's jumped on the other side of the railing where you like holding on, and behind him was and the last words he said to the guard, he was laughing. He goes, "I fucked your mother," and slipped and fell down, landed on his head, broke his neck, and died. Like, there's some serious stuff that like. Could be funny, like, but also like some serious stories that happened in there. A lot of murders. One guy cut his own throat. Like, what was that guy's? You remember what happened with that guy? The guy that cut his own throat.
Was that in? Was he on the lifers side?
Yeah.
And so that was the one that. I thought he hung himself, but that one sort of hit home for me because he was on one of the upstairs pods and. The Screws had been fucking with him. I think they had stopped him from doing his uni degree. He was a lifer, and he got upset. Anyways, he kicked off. He'd thrown the fridge down to barricade him. I remember it was funny because the Screws had come out, and I think one got nailed with a can of eight beans or something.
He had a hell of an arm, man. These guys in like security escorts are like they're running from a guy that was beating them with bean cans.
yeah, but he'd covered because the fridge was blocking the stairway, and he'd covered it with cooking oil, so it was slippery. And they locked us all down, but we'd all been standing out there, sort of cheering him on, and. Then we all got locked down. I actually came out because during the lockdown, they came to grab me to go to the medical centre to get insulin. And I saw the forensic tape up and I sort of put 2 and 2 together. And he had hung himself. So I don't know. It was just a bit straight, like a fella you'd seen large as life throwing, tins of bean and tuna at the Screws to then be, getting taken out in a body bag.
Yeah. They also have. So I'm in full, like anybody has my approval to hurt, destroy, disintegrate, torture any chomo, child molester. There's a group of people here that are famous called the Evil Eight. There were 8 couples that swapped their children, I think, like from 2 years old to 12 years old, and would let their friends have orgies on them and like lined up sex, like just terrible people. And let me tell you, there's a place in prison called Protection. Protection is the most dangerous place you can be in prison, in my opinion. Because first of all, you've got all the junkies that are off tap. They're 5150s, which means criminally insane. They've racked up drug charges, and they're gonna get their ass beat or worse in the yard, so they've flagged up. Then you've got all the rapists, all the serial killers, all the child molesters, and everybody that's no good that's in there. There's a rat, there's a dog that's in there, and you've got everybody that's no good. But one of the Evil Eight was in there, and 2 guys had taped makeshift knives to their hands. And I remember I was in the medics when this happened, and this is one thing. Like, there are some good screws. There's some good people that work in prisons, but like a lot of guys in prison should be there. They're not good people. I mean, the places, and they've got to deal with a lot. But there's some that just take it to the next level. But I remember these 2 guys, and on camera, stabbed one of the Evil Eight 47 times. They stabbed him 47 times, as in the newspaper. And I was in the medical center, and they're like red alert, code red, or whatever. They go, what is it? Like stabbing, multiple stabbings. Get ready. They go, who was it? And they said the guy's name, and I swear they went from hurry to slow motion. Literally, they all slowed down. They walked to the golf cart, put it there. One person forgot something, walked back to get it, put it in drive, and then slowly cruised. They went from, once they heard who it was, slowly cruised. And you know, the funny thing about cockroaches, they can live through anything. Nobody wanted to touch him, give him like CPR because of his blood. They tried to use every excuse to let this cockroach die. But somehow he pulled through, unfortunately, and made it to the hospital. But at least he got stuck 47 times. You know, that was a good part of it. But yeah, that was in protection. And you know, some of the violence that you see in there is well deserved. I mean, once you hurt a child, you know, I've got 2 small children of my own. I could not imagine someone ever doing any kind of sexual act to them, or even giving them pain. I'm telling you, there is no law that would stop me from doing to a child molester what should happen to him if that happened to my child. And then all of a sudden, you've got many of them everywhere. All these guys so they got what they got, and I'm happy they did. Anyway, but those are some of the other stories. But then we get back to the funny stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a cheerful subject.
So we've got Diego, our producer here. He's Brazilian. He's got a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. He's quite violent, so he runs a strict regime. He had this 11-year-old girl come in the other day. She's number 1 in the world in jiu-jitsu. Excuse me, number 1 in the world in jiu-jitsu. He's got her strangling me. Are you doing that on purpose?
No.
Okay. Okay. So Diego's just thumping in my ears.
I was just trying to get my mic working again.
I've turned his mic off. He hasn't checked that I've unplugged it. So this is just a one-sided argument.
One thing you guys did go over is that HIV story. You actually didn't say that it came out negative in the end. What was the deal with that?
It did come out negative. Yeah. Grady's opinion, I should sue the prison.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know why you don't.
I think my fear is that if I end up back in prison.
Well, so what? Like I don't know. If I fight somebody once and I lose, well, I'm wary of it. But fuck them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here we come. I'm coming again. You know, like they almost took your life and they need to pay for it. What you're gonna let a bully you? No way, man. Go get your money. Enjoy your life. They put your life at risk twice.
Yeah.
You know.
And what exactly happened there? What happened there? Like, what's the story? So they called you up, and how did
your
they
mic
get
is off.
the mistake happen?
You're coming through on my mic.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, they called me up. I went across. Everything was done. All the injecting and blood testing equipment were kept in like your little disposable like lunch containers, and they had a bit of tape with your names on them, and so. I hadn't actually realised, but they had switched up mine. So I actually got a call back up, and they explained to me, look, we're sorry, there's been a mess around. Your surname's very similar to another surname, and we've given him, and he's HIV positive. You may well have it. You know, we're going to have to give you a test. And yeah, so they did. They gave us a test. But even when they did that, they said, like, oh, look, it's probably too early to even know. We'll have to do this again in a couple of months. And then I think it was probably less than a week later, they did the same thing again. Same guy, same everything. Yeah, so...
Yeah. But did they lose their job? Was it the same nurse? Like, what happened to these people?
I honestly don't know what happened in the medical centre with that.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I don't know.
But you should be able to sue them. Like, you definitely should be able to sue them for that. Surely.
He can. I mean, 100% he can. I don't know what the statute of limitations are, but I've been telling him, I mean, you're crazy not to do it. Like, they almost killed you twice. You have kids. They almost took you from your kids twice.
I don't know. I suppose, and I think you both make valid points. I think for myself personally, and it's something I struggle with, I've grown up, you know, throughout a life of addiction, you know, spent time in prison. I feel that almost I'm not, and Grady tells me this all the time, I'm very hard on myself, and I think maybe, you know, this is something I possibly deserve. Just suck it up, princess, and move on. And look, it's maybe something I've got to look at, you know.
I don't know. I try to help with it. You can only help somebody so much, but I tell this guy, like, it's not for you. They put your children at risk of not having a father. You know, once, not even acceptable. No, one time injecting you with somebody's AIDS needle, not acceptable. Testing you and doing it to you a second time, they need to pay that. They need to pay for that, in my opinion. I mean, that kind of mistake gets people killed. And what? They said, oops, sorry?
That's pretty much the gist of it, yeah.
I don't know. I think they need to take some serious, like, go through there and standard operating procedures, make sure that, you know what, this has happened twice. We need to come back through here and revamp the entire way we give. There needs to be 3 people checking each insulin set or whatever to make sure that we're not injecting people with people's AIDS needles. You know, how do you do it twice and not make any changes?
Yeah, look, no, I think everything you're saying is very true, and it's probably something we need to have a conversation about. I know you have given me details of someone in the past, and I think we'll have that conversation again if that's all right.
All right. So since Hamish has been out, you know, there's some people that really deserve to be in prison, and you know, some people make mistakes and they learn a hard lesson. I think beating somebody up and robbing $30 of vape juice and getting 3 years for it it's quite excessive in my opinion. Except for Hamish, he probably should have got 30 if I was the judge. But since then he's got out, and you know, this guy he goes to work. He does a FIFO worker. He works in the mines. He works 3 weeks on, 1 week off, comes back. Well, I'll let you tell him what he does. You tell him what you do.
Yeah, look, now you know, for the best part of 5 years, I've been clean and sober. I work. I've got both my children back in my life. I've married. I've got an amazing wife, 2 stepchildren. I've just halfway through a diploma in emergency healthcare. I would like to come on, you know, be a medic eventually. Maybe even do a degree for you know, paramedicine. I've really changed things around. Like Grady said, you know, there are a lot of people that deserve to be in prison, but there are a lot of really good guys. And I think I have 5 close friends in my life, and we've all been in prison together, and they're all people that sort of ride or die. So these are people I'll stick with for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, I can attest for, like, there are good people and there's bad people. And then there's bad people that turn good, but not too many of them. And then there's good people that do bad, and there's plenty of that. I was one of those, I think. I have love for people. Let's face it, Hamish isn't very lovable, but I love him.
It's like you said as well. Like we laugh and joke about it. There were some great times, but there were some dark times. You know. Yeah. A lot of people lose their families. It's harder on them.
Yeah. Yeah. I can agree. I mean, I'm just glad you're out and doing well now. You know, I'm proud of you. We're sitting here at the studio, and he's like, "Hey, do you have a printer?" And I said, "Yeah, I got a printer. What do you need a printer for?" He goes, "I just got my diploma or one of my certificates. I want to print it out." I said, "Did you want to call your dad and tell him to?"
I said, "Fuck."
No, but
and then I went into the toilet and cried.
No, but actually, I'm real proud of him. It's hard to work. So when you work, he flies out. He works 12-hour days. He wakes up like, I don't know, whatever time in the morning, because he's a gym freak. He goes to the gym before he works a 12-hour shift. He does that for 3 weeks straight. He comes back. He's also studying the entire time he's doing that. Comes back, does his practicals, and studies, and still maintains his family, his work time, his workouts. He's quite an incredible person.
Thanks.
But keep the camera on him. Let's see if he cries.
No, I just got to bring my head back down to size. Look, I mean, it's a daily thing. I've said before that I think, like, for me, drugs started very young, and I was emotionally stunted at that age. I reckon I'm in the head about a 12-year-old, you know. So it's a daily battle to just put the right foot in front of the other, you know. But yeah, look, I don't even know where I'm going now.
You know where you're going. You're going to live a good life, and you get your kids back. That's where you're going.
Yeah,
you know, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. So, unless you have anything else you want to add, Diago, any questions you want to ask?
No, it's amazing to see what you're doing when you've come out, and keep at it. Definitely come back on again, and I think this podcast is really good to get, you know, a different perspective on people, which I think is a good thing that Grady's doing with the podcast as well. But good on you for getting out and not going back in. Fair
Thank you.
play.
Thanks, Diego.
Final question. Was it a crime or was it a misunderstanding? Only you can decide. Put it in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll be back for more.